Hey, Dr. Morrison, it's so good to see you. Thanks for spending some time with me today and taking some opportunity to share some information with our team at the farm, as we call our restaurant group. I really appreciate you being here to talk about the flu and the flu vaccine. So thanks for taking some time with us.
Thank you, Dan. Great to be here.
Why don't we jump right in and why don't you tell us what kind of doctor are you and a bit about your background?
Sure. Well, I'm a general internal medicine doctor. Some people call that primary care. Some people call it the doctor you go to when you're sick or just the doctor you go to when you have a physical. Your general practitioner, some people refer to it as well.
And can you tell us a little bit like what is the flu and why should people care about the flu?
Well, the flu, as we call it, influenza, is a virus that is we've had for many, many years, and it changes from year to year, different strains that we have, and we try to guess which strains we're going to have in the coming flu years based on previous years. And those strains, we try to gear a flu vaccine to prevent people from getting the flu that particular season.
But is the flu just the regular cold? Like why does it matter?
Well, it matters because influenza can be deadly. People who really have influenza um, miss work on a regular basis. If you get influenza, not only are you going to not feel like working, but you won't be working and you can be out of work for several days to a couple of weeks to fully recover. Some people end up in the hospital, and some people die and from influenza. And I think people forget about that influenza is a deadly disease. It kills thousands of people, not just old people, every year, but very bad cases of influenza occur on a yearly basis. I know we're obviously very concerned about coronavirus this year, and we tend to forget a little bit about the viruses that we've had for many, many years, like influenza. So it's a concern this season, particularly with coronavirus in our midst, and the combination of the two. Frankly, we don't know what it will look like, but it's certainly not a combination that anybody wants.
So the good news is the flu is a serious illness, but there is a vaccine, and obviously that's what everybody calls the flu shot. So what is the flu shot and who should get it?
Well, everybody should get the flu shot over the age of 6 months. I guess that applies to your employees
Yes.
who are over 6 months old, probably over 20 years old, I'm going to guess. Um, it's indicated for everybody in those age brackets, and not just old people, not just young people. It is for everyone, and the time to get it is now. September, October is the time to get the influenza shot. It is a killed virus. It is a killed, in other words, not a live version of influenza. It's a killed version of influenza. So much to many people's, um, I wouldn't say surprise, but there's a misconception that you can actually get influenza from the flu shot, and that's just not true. You can get an illness, some side effects from the flu shot. You might feel a little ache in your arm. You could potentially get a sniffle, maybe a headache, maybe some backache, some things that sort of feel like they might be flu, but nobody gets influenza from a flu shot.
And so is there anything about the flu shot, and I assume that you give out hundreds or thousands of flu shots and have over your career, when our employees in the restaurants are thinking about themselves, should I get a flu shot? Is there anything I should be worried about? What do you
Hmm.
say to that?
Well, the only thing to really worry about is in the broadest terms is these mild types of responses to the flu vaccine. Maybe a little headache, maybe a little low grade temperature over the next couple of days. But and there is a very rare complication or side effect from the flu shot. called Guillain-Barré syndrome, but it's a very unusual illness that has to do with muscle strength. But we very, very rarely see that. Certainly, it could be a concern that people know about and have heard about, but it's very rare. It doesn't keep us from giving the flu vaccine on a large scale basis that we do now.
And so this year, you mentioned before, with COVID-19 and the pandemic going on, do you think this is even more important this year and as we face this pandemic to get the flu shot?
Absolutely is. Absolutely is. People are going to start getting sick as we head into the fall with all kinds of viruses, with the coronaviruses that we've known about for years. There's other types of coronaviruses that have been out there, with other cold viruses, the common cold, which can be debilitating and keep you out of work. But influenza, when you really have it, you're down for the count for a good 3 days with the potential to get pneumonia. And when your immune system is such that you're going to be influencing it with an illness, it could put you at risk for other diseases too. So with coronavirus and influenza as a double whammy, again, we just don't know what that's going to look like, but the assumption is it's not going to be a good combination to have. So getting a flu shot this season where we can prevent getting influenza, we can't prevent COVID except for the strategies that we're doing with masking and social distancing at this point. Obviously, no vaccine for coronavirus at this point, but we do have one for influenza. So I'm recommending it for all my patients who can get it. And why wouldn't they be able to get it? If they had that disease I mentioned before, Guillain-Barré, in the past, they typically don't get flu shots. But that is, again, another very rare disease. By and large, people are hesitant to get flu shots, and I get that. I was hesitant in my early years, even as a practicing physician. And I had a mentor tell me once when I was working in a hospital, hey, Alan, listen, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the people in this hospital. Do it for the people you're around. Do it for your colleagues. Do it for your coworkers. Do it for every sick kid that you may come in contact with, because that's who you're protecting, your family members. If you don't want to do it for yourself, that's fine. Don't do it for yourself, but do it for other people. And it was a message that stuck with me for years, and I still think of it to this day. Hopefully that makes some sense to the folks who are going to be hearing this message today as well.
It makes a lot of sense to me. And I think of it almost like, if I care about the people around me relating to COVID-19, then I know I should wear a mask, right? Because I care about the people around me. So if I care about the people around me about their health, I should get a flu shot. It's just one more thing. And then the combination of the flu shot for the flu and a mask for any contagious virus seems like a really good idea. So
it's a great idea. And an infectious disease doc explained it to me pretty well once, many years ago also, and these things really boil down to philosophy. If the science isn't where you want to head, if you just go with the philosophy of protecting those around you, it's a great place to start. But even beyond that, at the end of the day, if you get the flu shot, people still think they might get the flu, and they might. It's a possibility, but here's the thing. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. You may get the flu even if you get the flu shot, but you'll prevent flu deaths. By and large, when people get flu shots, we see less flu deaths. So my philosophy has been, if you want to prevent people from dying from the flu, a flu death, whether it's yours or somebody else's, I recommend the flu shot.
Well, Doc, I think on that note, it is crystal clear, right? We hear the advice, get the flu shot.
Get the flu shot.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Dan.